Our people is the third most numerous people in the Middle East after the Arabs and the Turks. We constitute one of the largest nations in the world today to have been denied an independent state. The Kurds are one of the oldest nations in the Middle East and have occupied their present habitat for at least 3,000 years. Most of the historians are considering us as the descendants of the Medes who were ruling Western Persia between 500 and 700 BC. After the appearance of Islam, Kurdistan became a part of the Islamic Empire, and during the 15th and 16th centuries, our land was divided between the Ottoman and the Persian empires. At that time, Kurdistan was composed of small semi-independent principalities within the two empires. Both empires started to destroy these principalities, and by the middle of the 19th century they controlled all of the Kurdish land. Since then, our people hasn't seen any peacetime and rose up many times. At the beginning of this century, the subject peoples of the Ottoman Empire, Greeks, Slavs, Armenians, Kurds, or at least their intelligentsias, looked the concept of nationality as the key to independence. With the defeat and the dismemberment of the Ottoman Empire, these subject nations expected to achieve statehood.
At the end of the First World War, British troops were occupying southern Kurdistan, or what called province or Wilayat of Mosul. According to the Sykes-Picot Treaty of 1916, France was to take half the province of Mosul, and Britain was to take the half which contained Kirkuk. But Britain wanted the other half as well, partly because of oil.
Then in 1920, the Treaty of Sèvres by the Allies provided for the creation of a Kurdistan and an Armenia, as well as the three Arab states of Hijaz, later Saudi Arabia, Syria and Iraq. A Kurdish administration was established in Suleymaniye by Sheikh Mahmud, and in Persia, Simco introduced the slogan of independence by liberating a large part of Kurdistan.
But the treaty was never ratified by the Turkish National Assembly. In November 1922, the Sultanate was abolished. The subsequent military campaigns of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk brutally put down the Kurdish revolt of Sheikh Said and effectively ended hopes of an independent Kurdistan. The Treaty of Lausanne, which Kemal negotiated with the Allies in 1923 following his victory over the Greeks, confirmed the creation of three Arab states, but made no mention of either Kurdistan or Armenia. Not all of Ottoman Kurdistan remained with Turkey after the First World War. Small enclaves were incorporated into Syria, which was then placed under French mandate.
At the same time, the British colonial army attacked Suleymaniye to destroy the Kurdish administration which had been set up by Sheikh Mahmud. And southern Kurdistan came under British mandate along with all Mesopotamia to form the modern state of Iraq. In 1925, the League of Nations officially recognized the province incorporation into Iraq for at least 25 years. In 1927, oil was struck near Kirkuk. It was the richest deposit discovered anywhere in the world at that time. So after World War I, Kurdistan was divided between Turkey, Iran, Syria and Iraq. We can say that today there are about 16 to 18 million Kurds, about 8 million in Turkey, 5.5 million in Iran, about 1 million in Syria, and about 3 million in Iraq. However, the variations in the extent of the Kurdish population are caused by the deliberate underestimate and the chauvinism of these different governments. In all these countries, the Kurdish people are oppressed and cannot enjoy their national and cultural rights in addition to the class oppression. For this reason, since the First World War up to today, our people has been revolting every few years in one or another of these countries. All of these national and democratic movements were repressed by the occupying countries of Kurdistan with the assistance of the imperialistic powers, especially the British and American imperialism. The Kurdish areas and villages were bombed and destroyed. Hundreds of thousands of our people have been massacred in these uprisings. Our liberation struggle is one of the oldest today in the world.
In 1941, Britain and the Soviet Union, on behalf of the Allies, invaded Iran to prevent Reza Shah to turn his sympathy for Nazi Germany into a military alliance with the Axis powers. Most of the Kurdish region in Iran formed part of Russian zone of occupation. Under the Soviet influence, the Kurds and also the Azerbaijanis effectively ruled themselves until December 1945, when they established two republics, the Democratic Republic of Iranian Azerbaijan and the Kurdish Republic of Mahabad. Kurds from Iraq, Turkey and Syria came to Mahabad to offer their services. But in 1946, the Russians moved out of Iran, and the Iranian army occupied the two republics, which rapidly collapsed.
There are also about 300,000 to 500,000 Kurds living in the Soviet Union, between the republics of Armenia, Georgia and Azerbaijan. They are recognized as one of the 100 nationalities in the Soviet Union. They are allowed national and cultural expression through schools, universities, newspapers, radio and television programs. There are also Kurds who have immigrated from Turkey and Syria to Lebanon a long time ago, looking for work, and most of them still working in the worst social conditions and without nationality, and they estimate about 100,000 Kurds. We should add that over 100,000 Kurds are living in Europe, mainly in Germany, most of them being immigrated workers from Turkey. Turkey, Iraq, Syria and Iran, the four countries among which Kurdistan is divided, are each making great efforts to break the national resistance of the Kurdish people and to forcibly assimilate them, to turn our people into Turks, Arabs and respectively Persians. With cooperation amongst these countries themselves and with the support of foreign powers, our people has been driven into poverty and illiteracy. Despite great wealth in mineral and oil resources, all parts of Kurdistan are still today underdeveloped. Kurdistan has become a colony of these countries and their foreign accomplices.
أسرع بستاي دما جرو زاني شاغا روكو باوردو العزمانا لدري جهاني فتحا هيبو ستيركا لي لجمع لولاتي قلي الدست ولاتي خلقي الدست كول داري بندستي زور دستي ستم كاري كن مجي پیکولی جی بگی جحره غلامتی جی آغار حیاتی جی شیخ و ملیک ابن پرسره امنش ایرو ام دبینن کل جهانی تبهیر الصحیح لیل لجمج موالي ولا تكي ولي الرندي جيزي وزيري تبدا بخير وبيري لي امد مني تارو مار بوجي حمي ماي خيري برانو قال لي كرد بوجدان وناموس عم بالشرم عيب شرم لي شرمك مسنة لي أزانم حمي خلقتك صدقتك وخبطكاري بتستي كندية بلنقاك ريشان لي قوال برسمشي دبيشي أزبن بس بريشان بلنقاك نظام سالي جاري كدا فراتكم أبكدا الشمال ليش يكون مطوارا حبيب سمل هولك تنادي لعسل بستار اسبانيا ذيك الكبران أفكر نفستيا ويوارا دان سرمه افکاری که 1000 سال بری ددم هفدم بين بيري كري رجل قاي صور لبرهب هرم دور دي سادم هات دور زانم ابنامي شمنو تر قاي نی بیوی شمیر و آغان ره داویا مایی محکمان ره چاوش و حاکم برات ره چاوش زوران آخ جهان لسری من دنگ بوی ازی چاوا برنگیز بم گلی ترس حكومة ببخت دولة من بيقول تخازن جزابة من حسبك ليه حاجة جبوي في أزرازمة ليه لحالي قوم برسل كاجد فيشي كلي كلا كرما فيني رود شواري برمتيني تنبقى لا شو يستريني رود شواري لي أزانم خلاتي بتشتكيتي لي أزحس نابم أو ريجا مقام كري ريجا زانيني ريجا علمي جهاني ريجا جبو خلاصيا قلا جبو خلاصيا ولاتا لي سرويري أزهرمو أز ما في قد خاضم أزحس نابم شرفا من ولاتي منه سبرا من بخرتي منه آزادي دا خوازيا منه هر بجی تکوشینا گلی بندست هر بجی رزگاریان توا کرد بجی کردستان هر بجی شورشبان هر هبن افگی را گلی شورشگر گلی شورشبان.
Our people in Iraq represents about a third of the total population of about 12 million Iraqis. Iraqi Kurds, or people in Iraq, subsist on a largely self-contained agricultural economy. Tobacco is a principal cash crop where conditions permit its cultivation.
Our life in the mountains is extremely harsh, and food consists mainly of dairy products, rice, fruit, and bread. Meat is luxury. Surpluses are traded in the more prosperous lowlands for wheat, sugar, tea, and barley for animal feed.
There has been little development of Kurdistan, and the few projects which have been initiated prove of benefit primarily to the Arab South. Communications, medical care, and social services are still very primitive. Although the richest oil fields, Kirkuk, Khanaqin, and Sinjar, which are in Kurdistan, should have provided employment for the Kurds, it is entirely Arabs who are employed there, and the same applies to the mere 3% of Iraqi industry located in Kurdish areas.
After the Iraqi Revolution of 1958, the Constitution of Iraq recognized for the first time that Iraq is composed of two main nations, Kurds and Arabs. The Iraqi regime at that time, under the leadership of Qasim, took some positive steps towards the Kurdish national and cultural rights and started a radical land reform.
أيها المواطنون، وقد سبق لي قبل هذا أن افتتحت المؤتمر الأول للجمعيات الفلاحية وهذا هو المؤتمر الثاني أحضر بينكم فنفتتح هذا المؤتمر على بركة الله وباسم الفلاحين الكرام في أرجاء البلاد. إننا نحضر كلنا ونحن فرحون ومسرورون بأن نلتقي هذا اليوم ونحن أحرار في بلادنا فقد تحرر الأخطاء وحطمناه.
But relations worsened when Qasim attempted to deport the Kurdish population away from the oil-producing Kirkuk region. Under the influence of Arab chauvinistic forces, the government withdrew its rise from our people, and in September 1961, the Iraqi army launched a full-scale attack on Kurdistan. Our people was obliged to defend itself and started an armed struggle against the government forces. Firstly, to defend the Kurdish areas, and secondly, to achieve this national and cultural rise, which resulted in the slogan, Democracy for Iraq, Autonomy for Kurdistan, which today is still our aim.
پاشەوەی کە ملەتی کورد بۆی دەرکەوت لە ژیانی چەند ساڵەیدا لەگەڵ عەبدولکەریم و غەیری عەبدولکەریم ژیانی بە شێوەی پێشوو زۆر زەحمەتە و سەختە و هیچ ممکن نییە بۆیە ناچار داوای حکمی ذاتی ئۆتۆنۆمی بۆ خۆی بکات لە چارچێوەی سنووری عێراقدا بۆ ئەوەی بتوانی نەختێ بە ئاسوودەگی و سەربەستی بژیت و لەبەر ئەوەی کە منیش یەکێکم لە میلەتە و ئەو داخوازەش لەسەر ئارەزووی هەموو میلەتی کوردە بووێ منیش لەسەر ئەو ڕەئیم و داوای دەکەم و ئێمەش هیچ کاتێک داوای جیابوونەوەی دامەزراندنی حکوومەتی کوردستانی سەربەخۆمە نەکردووە.
This movement, which was led by the KDP, Kurdistan Democratic Party of Iraq, could collect tens of thousands of Kurds around the revolution, and for 14 years, till March 1975, there will be a large area of Kurdistan liberated from the Iraqi government control. After the collapse of Qasim's regime in 1963, our movement forced the following regimes in Baghdad, one after the other, to a ceasefire with a promise to fulfill the Kurdish rights. Unfortunately, none of these governments recognized our rights. A United Nations mission later reported that 40,000 houses were destroyed in some 700 villages, and 300,000 people had been displaced or made homeless. There were severe civilian massacres. In 1970, the Ba'ath government sought to bring a rapid end to the Kurdish war. In March 1970, the two sides, we and the Iraqi government, signed a 15-article peace agreement. This recognized our people as equal partner with the Arab people. A period of 4 years was specified in order to implement the agreement, during which Iraqi Kurdistan would become autonomous. The most fundamental article of the agreement concerned the carrying out within 1 year of an official census delineating the boundaries of one united autonomous region for Iraqi Kurdistan. The Ba'ath government failed to conduct this census, and instead of implementing the 1970 agreement, it announced its own law of autonomy in March 1974. It also set up a so-called Kurdish Legislative Assembly. Members of this assembly were directly nominated by the central government.
Dengê Kurdistanê.
More than 7 months has elapsed since the Ba'ath junta resumed its military aggression on Kurdistan. The marauding Iraqi army shelled towns, burnt farm crops, and looted villages. The Iraqi Air Force fighter bombers indiscriminately raided towns and villages, spreading chaos and destruction all over Kurdistan. Hundreds of thousands of Kurdish civilians had to flee from the invading troops. More than 100,000 of them are now living in refugee camps in neighboring Iran.
This is the voice of Kurdistan in Iraq, transmitting its programs on 3 medium waves of 283, 252 and 200 meters, and on 49, 41 and 30 meters shortwave. Our English language programs start every evening at 9 o'clock local time, that is 18 hours Greenwich Mean Time. This is the voice of Kurdistan in Iraq.
the whole revolution, I think we have just about 100 doctors, including the dentists, and also including the female doctors, which are about 6 or 7. Some of special or independent special organization and independent friends, some of them have supplied us with some medicine and other equipments, and some have promised us that they are going to supply us with it. For example, Ter de Zom in Holland, they have sent us medicine, surgical instruments, milk powders, food, baby food, some blankets, and some independent friends in Belgium, I think, they have brought us a table for gynecological and obstetrical operation with some instruments for these purposes, for women operations. No, Red Cross has not supplied us with any medical equipment and nothing.
Yes, Red Cross is not supporting us because also Red Cross also is influenced by the international politics. Only 2 weeks ago, General Barzani had a letter from the Red Cross telling that we have tried very much in order to give help to the Kurdish people, and we know that your fight is a just fight, but because this is an interior problem, and we have contacted the Iraqi government many times, and we were told that nothing wrong is going on inside the country. That's why we cannot give you any aid.
For example, 4 days ago, we have got 3 cases of phosphorus bombardment and phosphorus burning of Peshmergas in the front line. And when you put them in the darkness, they shine. You are familiar with the shining of the phosphorus. For example, the watch or something like that in the darkness, they shine. And their guns, the Kalashnikovs, were covered by phosphorus, and it was shining from the darkness. The eyebrows, their mustache, their beard, and their hair, all of them were full of phosphorus. But we try to take it away or to shave the hair, and we prepare some medicine of copper sulfate, 5%. It says that it is good to treat the burns and put it continuously under cover of water. Because whenever you prevent phosphorus from air atmosphere, from air oxygen, it will not burn. But as soon as it is in touch with oxygen, it starts burning. So we put them continuously under cover of water and copper sulfate.
من لجبهی زۆزێک بریندار بووم بە یەکێ لە بۆمبا فسفۆرەکانی بەعسی فاشست لە ئۆکتۆبەری 1974دا کە جەبهەی زۆزێک گەرمترین شەڕی لێ دەکرا و هێزەکانی حکومەتی فاشست بە هەموو هەوڵ و توانای خۆیەوە هێرشیان ئەهێنایە سەر هێزەکانمان و تازەترین و نوێترین چشی بەکار ئەهێنا بۆ شەڕی کوردستان. هەر وەکو فڕۆکەی شەڕ و تەنگ و تۆپ و تەنها ئەمانە بەز نەبوو، هەرچی چەکێکە لە جیهاندا قەدەغە بوو ئەو بەکاری ئەهێنا، وەکو بۆمبای ناپاڵم و فسفۆر و تێزاب بەکاری هێنا بۆ وێرانکردنی دێوشارەکانی کوردستان لە ناوبردنی بەسەدان مناڵ و ژن و بێتاوان. من کە بریندار بووم بە بۆمبای فسفۆر کە هەموو لەشم بەر ئەو بۆمبایە کەوت، تاکو و چەند ڕۆژێ هەر لە لەشما فسفۆر دەسووتە. تاکو ئێستاش زیاد لە 25 ئەمەلیات کراوم و هەرچەندە هێشتا زۆر ئەمەلیاتی ترم ماوە کە بیکەم. ئەمە یەکێکە لە جەریمەکانی بەعسی فاشست خۆی پیشاندا کە چەند درندە و خوێندمژی کووردە.
In that 10 years, between 1961 till 1970, of course, the Kurdistani women took a part in her revolution, her nation revolution, because all of us, women and men, fighting against the same enemy in order to have our own human rights, our national rights, against the racial discrimination of Iraqi government. Of course, some of our members, they have armament also at that time, and they took a part in artillery sections in the war. In all villages, Peshmerga's wives and sisters and daughters, they are members in our federation now, and they took a part in all our activities, even here and in the camps of our refugees. We have already done small factories in the camps for sewing the clothes for the Peshmerga. Of course, we work in the social field in the camps. As we are a social association, we are not a political federation, as you know.
لابتايبو معسكر لهفتاو يكرام كد لو لبسربو متعداي انا كد فرقصي بكرد وعربي انا كد من رام كد هذا بوما بيش مرقا لايكا برايم بيداي لقل برايم بيداي إيسا هاي لجبهي زوزك ولبوا قوموا بيخوما تيبو كشن ولا حكومات باشترو حكومات هات تيبارا كشي بوي هار تعداي كردو ها فرقصية كردو هاو كرد درماني كردو
ماشي
شاهدا فركرنا أخا بجيت رقا
نجر تروكاتيا مصطفى بارزانيا مصطفى بارزانيا مصطفى بارزانيا.
General Barzani is the president of the party, but in addition to being a president of the party, he's playing a leading role in the Kurdish society because he has been leading the Kurdish national movement for more than 40 years. The organization in Kurdistan is based on the organization of the party, Democratic Party of Kurdistan, which is playing a leading role in the life of the Kurdish people. KDP is a social, democratic, progressive nationalist party. Of course, we are taking benefit from scientific ideologies. The KDP is mainly a nationalist party. It works among the people of Kurdistan, but at the same time, it is an Iraqi party.
The KDP, however, in search for external support, developed relations with neighboring Iran. Right from the mid-60s, the Shah of Iran provided military aid to the Kurdish movement in Iraq. Later on, this assistance was enlarged by covert military support from the United States of America.
CIA support for the Kurds began in 1972 at the request of the Iranian government. The Kurds received Soviet and Chinese weapons and ammunition worth $16 million. The delivery was made through the Iranian government after Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi asked former President Nixon to provide military assistance to the Kurds. Barzani apparently distrusted the Shah, and the United States acted as a guarantor that the Kurds would not be summarily dropped by the Iranians, as in fact happened. The arms deliveries to the Kurds were apparently made over the opposition of the State Department and officials of the CIA itself. The National Security Council, which has the responsibility for approving covert operations, was not asked to agree to the plan. An official U.S. committee looking into the risks involved in American covert actions revealed that despite pleas from Barzani and the CIA station chief in Tehran to President Nixon and Dr. Henry Kissinger, the United States refused to extend humanitarian assistance to thousands of refugees created by the abrupt termination of military aid. As the committee staff was reminded by a high U.S. official, covert action should not be confused with missionary work. American support does seem, in effect, to have been largely symbolic. The Iranian commitment was much greater. The Shah was heavily involved in Kurdistan. I estimated he supplied about 1,000 men, soldiers, technicians, and backup artillery teams. These bases were well known to all the Kurds, but were kept secret from visiting foreign journalists.
As far as the Persian help for us is concerned, I think they have made it very clear that some humanitarian help is being given to the Kurds. In this sense, especially when an economic blockade is applied by the Iraqi government, the border becomes more or less open. We get medical supplies, food supplies, and things of that matter. Now, that being under the mercy of the Persians, I don't think so, because I mean, we control an area within which we can, if need be, to live on a subsistence level.
Of course, when we read about our history, we know that Shah is our enemy, and Shah was against us from beginning. Yet in 1974, or before that, many of our people, they began to believe that Shah is our friend, because we thought that, I mean, our leadership made us to think that what we got from Shah is humanitarian help. So we thought that Shah is our friend also. And always we heard about Barzani, that he is our leadership and that he is the greatest leadership, because Barzani began his struggle from 1930s. And he continued his struggle for about more than 40 years. As I read now in newspapers that our leadership had a relation with CIA, of course, we cannot say that our people, they knew all these. But later on, we have seen, all of us, we have seen Iranian military, Iranian army was in the revolution. Then at that time, we knew that our revolution and the order of our revolution is not in our hand. It is in the hand of the others who are behind the border.
The Algiers Accord was announced on March 6th. The Kurds, of course, were dumbfounded when they realized the extent of the Iraqi-Iranian agreement. Within hours, Iranian artillery pieces, shells, and other weapons were on their way out of Iraqi Kurdistan into Iran. The Kurds were left to face a large-scale offensive launched by the Iraqi army on March 7th, with virtually no ammunition for their few remaining big guns and anti-aircraft batteries. General Barzani's decision to stop fighting unleashed bewilderment and disillusionment among the Kurdish civilian population and the Kurdish forces. Some partisans threatened their commanders at gunpoint and told them they would continue the struggle without their leaders. In the remote areas of Badinan, near the Turkish frontier, Kurdish guerrillas shot dead one of the most famous commanders in Kurdistan, Isa Swar. Kurds spoke openly against the general's decision to capitulate. Some branded their leader a traitor to his people. A ceasefire was proclaimed on March 13th, and the Iraqi government offered an amnesty to all those Kurds surrendering before April 1st. This was later extended for Kurds in Iran wanting to return to their homelands.
Everybody was very much shocked by the collapse. There were a lot of feeling that there should be the continuation of the resistance, and a lot of feeling against Iran being the main thing. Those foreign relations, they started at the end of 1962, and they were continued all through, and they got deeper and deeper. The leadership of the revolution could be held responsible for those things, and they were made as tactical aims trying to benefit the revolution. We had deep relations with Iran, as a lot of people know about it. The relations, the United States, they were there since 1972. The Israelis were involved in it through Iran. The Iranian thing was almost, people knew about those things because it was very clear, and we had that frontier with them, and it continued for 13 years. The rest of relations, actually, they were known by a few people, political bureau, Barzani and his sons, and leadership altogether.
My dear General, I was most pleased to receive your message. I am convinced that secrecy has been of a paramount importance in maintaining our ability to do what we have done. It's only for this reason, plus our concern for your personal safety, that I hesitate to suggest a personal meeting here with you. I look forward to hearing from you. Henry Kissinger.
One of the astonishing facts about the Kurdish revolt in 74-75 is that what had been built up painstakingly over 14 years crumbled totally within a matter of days. What also becomes clear is that the Shah had no interest in seeing the Kurdish problem in Iraq resolved either way. The Iranians simply wanted to sap the resources of Iraq. It now seems clear that the Iranians did more than just withdraw logistic support. They appear to have even gone as far as to threaten active intervention to help the Iraqi army end the Kurdish uprising.
In September 1975, the Shah of Iran declared to a journalist, "I have to be straight. Yes, we did help the Kurdish revolution. In the last period, we were the motive power behind it. What was supposed to happen happened when we withdrew our support from the revolution. We did not invent the Kurdish revolution. We found it a reality. The Kurdish revolution offered us an opportunity, and we took it. Did we really want to create a great Kurdish problem? No."
About 300,000 Kurds have been moved to the south, west and center of Iraq. The Iraqi government has been intent on moving Kurds from sensitive border areas and regions designated as strategic, such as oil-rich Kirkuk and Hanakin. Kurds have also been moved out of the remoter areas of Kurdistan and resettled in so-called model villages. Kurdish lands have been confiscated and Arabs moved in from the south. Kurds have also been stopped from purchasing property in certain areas and are refused land registration certificates.
In August 1975, the Iraqi Minister of Information, Mr. Tariq Aziz, declared to an international group of journalists who were visiting Iraq, "The nationalization of oil and of its production is an important matter for Iraq. And after years of fighting, the Iraqi government found it necessary to secure the region by transferring its Kurdish population away and settling Arabs in their place. This transfer of population is to guarantee the security and the future of this region."
Yet they are continuing Arabization. They are sending Kurds people to south of Iraq, especially from these places which is rich of oil. Besides that, they closed all the Kurdish schools, those schools where the study were in Kurdish language. So now is forbidden. Already they have asked many Arabian tribes to go to Kurdistan. Some of these tribes, they refused to go to Kurdistan because they thought that it is difficult for them to live in Kurdistan because of the weather and geographical situation there. They don't like to live in Kurdistan. They like their own place, as we like our own place. Yet the Iraqi government forced these tribes to go there. And of course, they give them money and these things. Now they are living in Kurdistan. So Kurdistan has become a part of the Arab people, and they send the Kurds to live in the deserts and in the camps. That's what the Iraqi government is doing with the Kurds, and of course, with the Arabs also.
In fact, the resurgence of guerrilla activity in May 1976 was the consequence of the resettlement of our people throughout the country. The Peshmergas took up arms spontaneously, mainly in those areas where the population has been deported. There are now three main Kurdish guerrilla movements involved in fighting the Iraqi army. The first one is the old Kurdistan Democratic Party, which regrouped after the collapse under an apparently new leadership. The second group is called the Preparatory Committee of the Kurdistan Democratic Party. General Barzani's closest aide, Dr. Mahmoud Osman, formed the committee in late '76 after breaking with the Kurdish leader.
For the time being, KDP has two organizations. One of them is the Provisional Leadership, which is headed by Barzani family, and they are following the same old policy of relations with America, Iran, and all the others. And also, they haven't changed, and they are not ready to condemn what they have done in the past. The second organization is our organization, which is the Preparatory Committee for KDP. It tries to reorganize the party away from Barzani family's influence and away from the old policies, and through cooperation with other progressive forces in Kurdistan, like PUK and other forces which could emerge, we could play a big role in this present situation. Especially that's very important because the Ba'ath regime in Iraq is following the same arbitrarian policy. They are having the same Arabization, deportation to the southern Kurdish people. Human rights are very much it's not there. They are following a very fascist policy, those Kurdish people. And we think that this reorganization would only be possible away from Barzani family's leadership.
The KDP Preparatory Committee made an alliance in 1978 with a faction of the newly formed socialist movement. The two groups merged later on to form the United Socialist Party of Kurdistan.
بعد تجربة النكسة المريضة التي تعرض لها الثورة الكردية بانهيارها إثر اتفاقية الجزائر كان لنا درسا بليغا في أن الاعتماد على الخارج كله وشن حرب جبهوية طبعا غير ناجحة وغير ممكنة، وأن النضال والكفاح المسلح الطويل الأمد والاعتماد على الجماهير الشعبية الكادحة هو الطريق الأصوب والأنجع لمواصلة الثورة وتحقيق الأهداف القومية المشروعة للشعب الكردي.
بوسنوي ما في تقرأي رنجدرانم بوسنوي ما في تقرأي رنجدرانم بوازانيو سرفرازي بو سوشياليزم بو همو کس روژی شادی بو سوشياليزم بو همو کس روژی شادی سلا دشمن ناکناوا سلا دشمن ناکناوا بری رنجمان اشتیناوا وقت چون وای کشو برواروش هر حال ده آواش ازانم رزگاری بو منابه باروشی با بافروتوفان بابي خاوز باب السيتي كوني جيران بابي خاوز باب السيتي كوني جيران.
The third guerrilla movement in Iraqi Kurdistan, which is considered the most important one, is called the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan, the PUK. Its most prominent leader, Jalal Talabani, was one of the main political opponents of the Barzani in the 60s. Drawing its main support from Syria, the PUK works very closely with the Iraqi opposition political groups in fighting the present Ba'athist government in Baghdad. The PUK is a regrouping of different tendencies, such as the Marxist-Leninist League, the socialist movement, and some independents, in the shape of a front organization.
The Kurdish liberation movement was not ended after the escape of the tribally orientated leadership of Barzani. Most of the members of this leadership fled to Iran, others went back to Iraq, and some of them are now living in Europe and North America. As the Kurdish revolutionary elements refused the decision to dismantle the revolution, they started to work directly to establish a new organization to lead the Kurdish movement and resume the armed struggle on anti-imperialism and anti-reactionary basis.
برانی خۆشەویست ئەو کۆبوونەوەمان بۆ ئەوەیە کەوا باسی ئەرکەکانی سەرشانی پێشمەرگەی کوردستانتان بۆ بکەین بەو بۆنەیەوە کەوا ناو بەناو ئێوە ئەچن بۆ ناو جەماوەری گەلەکەمان بۆ ئەوەی ئەو پەیوەندەی نێوان پێشمەرگە و جەماوەری گەلەکەمان بەهێزتر بێت پێویستە برایانی پێشمەرگە هەمیشە ئەوەیان لەبیر بێت کە ئەوان پێشمەرگەی کوردستانن واتە ئەوانە خزمەتکاری جەماوەری گەلن و هەمیشە کاریان ئەوەیە کە نەک هەر لە ڕووی عسکەریەوە خەبات بکەن بۆ دەرفەڕاندنی هێزی فاشستەکان بەڵکو لە ڕووی سیاسیشەوە بەهێزترین پەیوەندی لەگەڵ جەماوەری گەلەکەمان دروست بکەن و هەمیشە بەکردەوە بۆ جەماوەری گەلی بنوێنن کە ئەوان نۆکەر و خزمەتکار و پێشمەرگەی ڕاستەقینەی جەماوەری گەلن ئەوە وا داوا دەکات کە هەر پێشمەرگەیەک کاتێتە هەر شوێنێک لە پێش هەموو شتێکدا ئەبێ ناوی خۆی لەبیر بێت لەبیری بێت کە ئەو پێشمەرگەی کوردستان بۆ پارێزگاری کورد و کوردستان بۆ سەرنەوەی دیموکراسی بۆ عێراق و ئۆتۆنۆمی بۆ کوردستان چەکی گرتوتە دەست.
ما عدا عدد القوات الموجودة كانت سابقة يعني سابق الشهر الثالث من سنة 77 والربايا والقوات اللي كانت موجودة جلب 40,000 مقاتل 40,000 جندي من الجنوب وبدأ بهجوم كاسح إلى الكردستان وقتل الأكراد البريئة وحرق القرى وتحديد القرى الكردية إلى الجنوب، وفعلا قام بها وتمكن من سيطرة بعض القرى وبعض المناطق بعد أن تصدت لها الفصائل الأنصار الكردية. قام بضربات لاحقة وضربات قوية إلى القوات الحكومية. فسمعنا بعد الهجوم وفشلهم بالسيطرة على المنطقة الكردية وبالقضاء على الحركة الكردية، قاموا القادة الفرق والألوية باجتماع وقدموا مذكرة إلى الحكومة العراقية بعدم تمكنهم بالقضاء على الحركة الكردية بالطرق العسكرية، وطلبوا من الحكومة اللجوء إلى التفاهم والحوار والحل السياسي للمسألة الكردية. أخيرا
Long live Kurdish armed struggle! 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 102 people were sentenced to death in Iraqi Kurdistan. Down with the fascist bar! 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 17 patriots were executed in Iraqi Kurdistan. Down with the fascist bar! Down with the fascist bar! Down with the fascist bar!
Our problem, I think, for the public opinion and socialist countries, and even the left wing in the Western countries, is that most of them, they think that Baath regime is a left-wing regime or is a socialist regime, while perhaps the propaganda of Baath regime in a way has succeeded in these countries and has affected the public opinion. Yet, if we analyze the situation in Iraq and how is it, we understand which kind of government is there in Iraq. The Baath Party has two kinds of leadership. One is national leadership and the another one is regional leadership. The first leadership is for all Arabian countries, and the regional leadership, I mean the Iraqi leadership, they are all from one family, or most of them, they are relative. All they are from Tikrit, or all they are from the family of the Iraqi president and the Iraqi vice president. From 1968 till now, they began to kill more than 3,000 people in prison. And that was declared even by the president for some people when the chief of secret police, Nazim Gzar, was killed. He told some ministers at that time that the chief of the secret police has killed more than 2,000 people without telling anyone.
The Amnesty International annual report states, Iraq remains one of the most serious violators of human rights in the Middle East. Amnesty International continues to receive reports of arbitrary arrests, routine torture, summary executions, and inadequate legal safeguards. The incidence of reported executions in Iraq is probably the highest in the Middle East. However, precise and well-documented information on executions is difficult to obtain. This is due to the official policy of silence on such events and the uncertainty of even the families, since bodies are often not returned to them after execution. Most executions take place similarly after a military trial.
So we have these kinds of government. It is not democratic government. No one elected this government. This government came to power through a quota. They got everything in their hand, and they began to kill and torture our people. I can say that they are not against the Kurds only, but they are against the Iraqi people all, especially the progressive and patriotic organizations. They will not allow the opposition to work in the country. The only thing they have is that they make propaganda outside, that they are socialists. And of course, I think what effect the governments out, many European governments and many socialist governments, is that they are rich with oil. And I think That's our problem. But yet, the weakness of the left wing and not well organized of the left wing opposition in Iraq made this kind of government to have success in some ways. That's why the public opinion and the socialist governments, they think about Iraqi government as a socialist democratic government.
خواتی دانانی چک و دشمن فاشیستکان خواتی سور بوله سر کردستان یا خود نمان خواتی سور خواتی چک خواتی داد خواتی خاد خوات باب کم و یا کتی کار لکل گیلا دیو کارگا کانی شار خوات باب کم بدل و بجان و برگیری خاکی کردستان خوات باب کم بدل و بجان و برگیری خاکی کردستان لا 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 خواتی رزگاری ولاد بجنگی کی درش خیال خواتی پیش بسن بخو بزحمت کش به هجاران